Anita, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Hi, Anita.
Hi, Hank. I want to thank you for your show. I have to tell you that for 22 years I was a caregiver of a disabled son, and the last 10 years of his life, your show meant so much to me to learn, because I was real limited about what I could do, and I just really thank you for that. And I have another son who lives in Kansas City, and he's in the Anglican Church. He has a lot of friends that are in the Orthodox Church, and he's in a dilemma. He's getting married in August, and he has a dilemma about communion and what to do at his wedding. But my question for you is your take on the fact that the Eastern Orthodox Church has closed communion.
Well, I'm glad they do. And historically, there's a saying, and as part of the liturgy, guard the doors, wisdom, guard the doors. When I was in Greece, I got a further explication of what that meant as I went through some of the older churches and saw some of the foundations of the historic Christian faith. But yeah, there's a reason for that, and the reason is that the Eastern Church, as I was expressing to an earlier caller, takes very, very serious what goes on with respect to the Eucharist, and they do that for good reason. Now, you think of what Paul said in 1 Corinthians chapter 11, "Whoever eats the bread or drinks the cup of the Lord in an unworthy manner will be guilty of sinning against the body and blood of the Lord." That almost takes your breath away. And then Paul goes on and says, "A man ought to examine himself before he eats of the bread and drinks of the cup. For anyone who eats and drinks without recognizing the body of the Lord eats and drinks judgment on himself." And Paul's not done. He goes on to say, "That is why many among you are weak and sick, and a number of you have fallen asleep." It's a metaphor for a number of you have died. So Paul is saying in no uncertain terms, I could go on, but I won't. He's saying in no uncertain terms, do not take the body and blood of Christ lightly. And I will tell you that has become a reality for me, as I mentioned earlier, such that sometimes I weep before the Lord. And I'm thinking even today, as I was the moment after taking communion, about preparing my heart for the next time, living my life in such a way that the Lord would be pleased with me. Now, being in touch with my own mortality, it's ever more dear to me. But I see a great, great precedent for this in church history. And quite frankly, I chafed under this for quite a while because I attended an Eastern Orthodox church for almost 2.5 years before I joined and caused all the commotion. And I would watch particularly this 104-year-old lady shuffle up with her walker, just a dear saint. I'd watch her shuffle up with her walker and partake of communion, and I'd think, oh, I wish I could do that. Well, the only way I could do that is to join the Orthodox Church, and the same thing would be true in many communions. There are many other communions that are closed in other denominations, in the Protestant reality and in the Catholic reality. So I think that this is not a new or novel idea, but I think that the weightiness of communion is sometimes something that we have lost sight of and we need to get a hold of again, because this is the chief grace, at least from my perspective and the perspective of the early Christian church, the chief means of grace by which we can live by the graces of God, become through grace what God is by nature. Never what God is in the Godhead, but we can become partakers of the divine nature. So this is a very serious matter. I'm glad you asked the question. My apologies to those hanging on and to the Facebook people. And all I can say right now is I'm glad that I'm able to do this broadcast and that people are continuing to stand with me shoulder to shoulder in the battle for life and truth. Please be generous as you give. You can give in a safe, secure fashion, equip.org. So long for now.